Save time.
What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide Hockey YouTube channel, episode 32 of season 7. I'm your host, Jim Microphone, joined as always by the one and only Jack Smith. If you're catching us live on YouTube, make sure you smash the subscribe button. Help us on our quest for 1,000 subscribers. We're in the home stretch, 30 subscribers away from 1,000. Make sure you hit the alert so you never miss a show. And for all the podcast listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so you're first in line when the newest episodes drop. Before I get to our little read here, I want to apologize for our tardiness. We did have technical difficulties on both ends here before the show, but we're here now, and hope you guys are ready for a topic-packed show. And here's our read. Attention, hockey fans and golf lovers. HW Hockey has just dropped the perfect blend of style and performance. Our brand new HW golf hats, whether you're hitting the links or just repping your favorite hockey brand off the ice, these hats are designed for comfort, breathability, and that clean, classic look. With a sleek fit and embroidered HW Hockey logo, you'll be turning heads while sinking putts. So don't miss out. Keep it high and wide all summer long before they're gone. Venmo at HW Hockey. And make sure to send over your mailing address so we can ship you out your HW gear. And just give me a second for you guys. I'll get that little barcode up. Jack, is Keith your buddy there?
No, just the guy who knows style. That's all.
All right, let me see.
He is now. How's that?
Here we are. Okay, if you guys are interested in the HW Hockey golf hat, that's not the right one. You can just scan that barcode there once I get it visible for you guys, and purchase yourself your own HW Hockey golf hat, just $35. Venmo, make sure you scan that barcode and send over your address, and you could be repping HW brand all summer long. Okay, Jack. So we have, sort of the prototypical Flyers are done early again. There's playoff hockey going. First round's well underway. A bunch of great series, great hockey to talk about. But we're talking again. It seems like it's a broken record every three years or so. The Flyers need a new coach, and it seems like there's, at least it feels like to me, there are a lot of candidates out there, and maybe some are kind of falling out of the running already. And we'll talk about that. That's obviously one of our bigger topics of the episode. I know fans want to know, like, what names are out there, who hasn't been mentioned yet, at least on our show. And, we'll definitely talk. Is there one guy specifically maybe holding everything up? So we'll get to that. There's another coach who will not name yet, but was just made available today. So a lot of names out there, more names coming, and maybe more names going. So stay tuned for that talk. But before we get to that, Jack, let's kind of we haven't really talked about the NHL playoffs, which the Flyers are not a part of again. Sure. Have you been keeping up on any of this the last week or so?
Yeah, I have actually. I've been watching. I'm invested in pretty much every series except for Florida Tampa, which I still watch because I had a 5-leg parlay right now where I need Carolina, Toronto, Vegas, Winnipeg, and Washington. So 2 of those series are probably fine, probably 3 of them, but Vegas is looking awfully difficult, making things look difficult for sure. Down 2-1, come away, tie the series 2-2 in overtime. And then, of course, I really thought that Winnipeg would, I don't know about steamroll, but handily defeat St. Louis. And I believe that series is 2-2 with St. Louis winning the last game like 5-1 or something, which is, terrible for my parlay. But I'm still alive, obviously. But also Colorado and Edmonton, because we want them both to get bounced in the first round. And, Colorado up 1. Then Dallas wins the next 2. It's like, this is looking great. And now that's 2-2. And they shut out Dallas in the last game. And Edmonton, oh, my God. If LA is going to do it, it was going to be this year. Edmonton's banged up. LA's looking strong. Have home ice. They win the first 2 games. And then that game 3, we don't have to get into it too much, but that challenge was so stupid. And people were saying it's like he may have lost the series with that. And then you see the winning, they play like a great 40, 45, 50 minutes of a game, and then they just lose it in the end. And they end up losing it overtime in game 4 there. And it's just like that series is now tied at 2. Like, come on. I want that. I think they said if Colorado and Edmonton both get eliminated in this round, we'll have like the 21st and 2nd or 22nd and 23rd pick in the draft. Like, that's wild with those picks. Like, I'm all for that. So I got a dog in every race except for like Florida, Tampa. So yes, I've been paying attention to say the least.
That sounds like it. So I filled out one of those brackets. I don't know if you had time to do that, but I actually remember to do one this year. And I was only able to take a screenshot of part of it, but just so everyone can kind of hold me accountable here, just in case I switch any of my picks, I'll toss this up there. You let me know what you think. So obviously you could see the Stanley Cup final I have there, Vegas beating Tampa. I don't know how great that's looking now, which, I kind of would, honestly, like, I think, I don't know why, because Florida's a very good team, but I just thought that they were beat up, and I thought that maybe Tampa Bay was, coming in hot, one of the hottest teams in the NHL heading into the playoffs, and I thought that they were going to beat Florida. I think they're down 2-1 right now. I think they're playing tonight to see if Tampa can tie that up, but Florida kind of handled Tampa Bay the first couple games there, and we're up 2-0. I think the games were in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. So, if if Florida ousts Tampa Bay in the first round there, my bracket's kind of screwed from the jump. In the Eastern Conference, and then real quick, if we move over to the Western Conference, you could see there I have Vegas beating Minnesota 4-1. Minnesota was up 2-1 on Vegas. I thought Minnesota was kind of one of those teams that were, backing into the playoffs there. They were beat up, sort of, losing a bunch of games heading into the playoffs. And all of a sudden, they're able to turn the page, new season, go up 2-1 on Vegas. And I think Vegas ended up coming back to tie that series up, but it's definitely not a walk in the park for Vegas. That's for sure.
And it looks like you even had St. Louis over Winnipeg. It's good for you. I guess you understand that Hellebuck, as good as he is, just isn't exactly the playoff goalie that they need. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm similar. I don't have it in front of me, obviously, but I had Dallas winning it all. So that first round matchup is big. I had them beating Vegas. And on the other end, I had Carolina going all the way, but I had them knocking out Toronto. But I did have Tampa beating Florida. So, yeah, I mean, pretty close outside of a few favorites I may have taken. But yeah, I mean, I always have an issue with the playoff structure, but the first round is always wild no matter what. And I think that's what this playoff structure really gets. It's just all this, and you can't argue it. I mean, there are some heavyweights playing each other in the opening rounds, which is great hockey. Even the Montreal Capital series is wild with Tom Wilson just going wild. Like, it's no other way to say it. So it's been a good opening round for sure. I just hope that things really work out our ways.
Hang on,
and
Jack.
they
can't
could
hear you for some reason.
Uh-oh. Freaking thing again.
But I don't know. Maybe it could be on my end.
How about now?
Yeah, it's on my end. Okay, give me a second. You could hear that, Jack? I can't hear you on my end still. Hang on. Sorry, guys. Can you hear me okay?
There we go. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I hear you. We're
All
back.
right.
We back? We're back.
We're back.
All right, let's move on. Jesus Christ.
All right. So we were talking Stanley Cup playoffs there. Apologize for that, podcasters. Maybe you want to go back and listen to this as a podcast tomorrow. We'll cut that out for you guys. Okay. Playoffs. So yeah, Minnesota, Vegas tied 2-2. I was watching the Edmonton and Los Angeles series last night, and LA really had a chance to take a stranglehold on that series and go up at least 3-1. And they failed to do that, blowing a third period lead once again. It looked like they were going to take that commanding lead. The pairing of Bouchard and Nurse was just it's absolutely brutal. LA just couldn't put him away, and where Bouchard lacks defensively, you see what he has at the end of that game with that cannon of a shot, sends the game to overtime, and Edmonton was able to finish off LA. I think they're heading back to LA now, tied 2-2. Man, it would be nice if the Kings can sneak out a win in that series to help the Flyers out, like you mentioned.
It's a shame. I think they lost the momentum. So we'll see. They're home. So the next game, we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
it's just like I felt like we had good picks in the palm of our hand for what we considered. Like even last year, we're like, oh, that could be the last pick of next year's draft with Edmonton. And it's like, man, they get bounced in the first round. That'd be great. And you're looking right at it, and LA just blows it. Like, come on, man.
Yep. And then that other series, St. Louis, Winnipeg. Winnipeg went up 2-0 early, which was surprising to me. I know Winnipeg won the President's Trophy, but we kind of see that winning the President's Trophy doesn't really matter come playoff time. Like the best regular season team, if you're not built for the playoffs, how many times have we seen the President Trophy winning team bail out in the first round? And I think that's what we're going to see again. I really like St. Louis. I really like Jim Montgomery as a coach, and they've been one of the hottest teams, if not the hottest team in the NHL since the Four Nations break. And imagine winning the first overall seed, Jack, and having to play the St. Louis Blues in the first round. Like that really kind of sucks. And St. Louis plays the way like they're built for the playoffs, and they're led by former Flyer Braden Shen, who, in my opinion, is the epitome of what a captain should be. He's a skilled player, obviously, but he'll beat the brakes off you, not afraid to drop the mitts, and he can lay the big hit, which we can see alter the course of maybe a game and a series, as we saw last night with Tom Wilson. We'll get to that series. But St. Louis is not a team that I would want to play out west. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, it's fun. It's wild. And I just hope everything bounces my way. I really like to hit the parlay. My account could really use this parlay, but most importantly are the draft picks. So I mean, I hope LA figures it out. I hope Dallas pulls it out. They're supposed to start getting healthy now. It was a Landeskog return. Now we're supposed to potentially have Robertson come back, and Heiskanen's supposed to maybe come back. And if they lose this next game, they're probably definitely coming back. So we'll see, and then we'll go from there. So.
Yeah. So you mentioned Dallas, and they're a team that's kind of in it every year. Like they might not win the President's Trophy, but they're not a team you want to play. They're a big body team, a lot of vets, skilled vets on that team. They have the goaltending. They got the workhorse, number 1D. And maybe like this wasn't in our show notes, but I was listening to Spit and Chicklets earlier in the week, and they had Chris Pronger on, and he was talking about what a number 1 defenseman is. And it's something that if we don't get to that during this show, I'll make sure I put it in the topics for a future show, because it's just, he was asked what he thought of Colton Parayko. And when you hear Colton Parayko, Jack, what do you like, if you had to put a number on him, like 1, 2, 3, 4D, what would you say he was?
What he was? As I thought he was like,
no, or is like, what would you like? Is he a 1D to you, or is he a 2D? What is he?
I'm not ready to give him 1 yet, but he can definitely play in the top pair. When he first was coming up, he was like a mini Pronger, is like some of the things they throw around. Obviously not that talented, but like the size and whatnot, you're going to love those things. And you can probably put somebody like that with anybody. And just in the playoffs, yeah, you can probably play like a number one when he's wearing you down. So it's the kind of guy you want. It's why we think Risto is so tradable, is things like that. And defensemen take longer to develop, and he's starting to come around. And I always had him as a second pairing D-man who could, if you had to, pop on your first pair. But like, that's the kind of guy that's really going to wear you down and be a real problem in the playoffs.
Well, yeah. So, and I think Pronger agreed with you because he did not hesitate. I think he even corrected. So Bissonnette called him a 2, and Pronger corrected him, and like almost like mockingly, and he said he is a 3.
Plays for the Blues, big defenseman. Who else did that? Oh, Pronger. That's I get it. But I think the one gets thrown around too easily. But that doesn't mean you can't play on the top pair depending on who your partner is. But I kind of sorry.
Well, this was kind of going to be my point. Like for like I mean, we could talk about during this show if you want to, but like, you mentioned let's say he's a 3, and Pronger says he's a 3, and he said the service to Parayko was that he gets compared to himself too much. Like, let him just be the guy that he is. And how many times have we said that about guys, right? So if Colton Parayko is a 3, we have people here saying that Cam York is a top pair D, yada, yada. And it's like, dude, I can't,
he's not.
Like somebody shoot me in the face if I hear Cam York's a top pair D one more time.
He's not even close. I'm not saying he won't get there. I'd be surprised, but I'm not saying he won't get there. But he's not there. Okay, I think of it this way. I'm like, Erik Karlsson in his prime days with Ottawa, obviously a number 1 defenseman. Who was his number 2? Or who was his partner? Does anybody know?
I don't mean to cut you off here real quick. So it was funny that it's just funny that you mentioned Karlsson because Pronger brought Karlsson up. He said, Erik Karlsson, would you say that he's a number 1 D? And he said, I would not. And here's why. He's not a guy that can play in all situations. If you're down a goal, you put Erik Karlsson on the ice. If you're up a goal, you might not put him on the ice. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I think that's a prerequisite. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, if you're going to be a number 1 D, you need to be able to play in all situations, right? And if you're a number 2 D, you should probably be like a Batman to that 1 D. Kind of like, let's say Pronger was the alpha male 1 top defenseman, right? Matt Carl was his Batman. That's not to say Matt Carl's a number 2 or top pair D. He just complements Pronger, right? And that's what we're doing here. By default, Cam York plays on the top pair. It's like being the tallest midget, right? That doesn't mean he's a 1 or even a 2 D. He's just a top pair guy on the Flyers who finished 5th from last in the NHL in points this year. You know what I mean? So just listening to the conversation, and I might recommend if you're interested in the conversation, check out Spit and Chicklets episode this week. But it just is like, I think we haven't seen a top defenseman, a workhorse number 1 D in so long that we forget what the hell it is. That's all.
I mean, honestly, you kind of described what would be, obviously we had Pronger, but Kimmo Timonen was a guy who could play in all situations. I think there was a time when he was a little bit younger, and I love Timonen, where he was definitely that guy. But my point wasn't so much about Karlsson as it was about that was their top pair in Ottawa, and they obviously went to like Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And I agree with what you're saying about Karlsson, but like his partner, like most people, I'm going to say a name and tell me if you remember this guy, Mark Mathot. Do you remember who that? And when he went to Dallas, evaporated, just nothing. That does not a number 1 defenseman by any stretch of the imagination. Was the Robin to the Batman in that scenario. So like when I look at a guy, I'm not saying could he play on the top pair. There is an infinite number of guys, depending on who the partner is, that could play on the top pair. I'm not saying it could be just anybody. You do have to be somewhat responsible. But like to be a true number 1 defenseman, goes to your point, you should be in all situations defenseman. Because 1, you're a defenseman, so you should be able to play the penalty kill. You should chip in offensively. You should probably be getting some power play time as well, but I can work with that. Or if they needed somebody, you can definitely quarterback it or be a part of it in some way, shape, or form. That is the number one defenseman to me. York, who was drafted as a guy you'd expect the offense from, has shown little to none of that. And it's kind of tough when you say a guy's a good defensive defenseman and he's not even 6 feet tall. That's like a hard sell. And I'm not saying he's not good. He is. He blocks a lot of shots. He makes some smart plays, but he's by far anywhere near a number one or even a guy that I trust. I wouldn't trust him in all situations, even some defensive situations. He's not there yet. He's just too young. And it's just one of those, I never understood the love because he had, if anybody has a good season for the Flyers, they're the greatest thing ever. And if anybody's bad, they're horrific, they're terrible, get rid of them. And when you're talking about young guys, it's just not the way the trajectory of their career is going to go. It's going to be peaks and valleys, unless you're Michkov, and then it's only up. But like guys like York, I mean, he's got an offensive game, but like refuses to use it. He had a worse season this year than he did last year, and people like still say he's the number one D man. I don't get it, man. I think less and less people are starting to say that after this year. So, and I agree with a lot of the comments we got here. It's like we won't remember, but also like he might not be here at the start of next year. We'll see. We'll see how much money he wants. He bet on himself. I'm not saying he regrets it. He shouldn't get anywhere near what he thought he was going to. And I think Danny's going to play hardball, and ultimately we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. I like this conversation, because I think we need to sort of reset our minds. We need to reset a little bit when it comes to defensive tiers and what an actual like 1D or, a workhorse defenseman is and how rare they actually are. Like I would argue that the workhorse defenseman is more rare than the legitimate top line center. Right. And so what it looks like if I'm the Flyers or if we're watching the Flyers is, they kind of have made up their mind. Okay, we have to do this by committee. We're not going to get that workhorse D. So we need to, kind of fill our roster up with number two and number three guys. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's fine. You can get by with that, I think. But it looks like they've kind of shifted the focus on finding the top center.
And I think that's the right move because Florida just proved to you don't need a true number one defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
They got a lot of good guys out there. Don't get me wrong. The defensemen, it's not like they're any mediocre. They're very good, but there's not like a true number one out there that they want to cup with. It's a lot of just good, solid guys. I don't think you can get by without a number one centerman for sure. So I think they are putting the priorities in the right place. So
for sure,
ultimately we'll see.
Yep. I love this conversation, so I could talk all day. But so before we do that, let's move on a little bit here. We do have some housekeeping to get to. So it seems like a little while ago now, but Rocky Thompson is no more, Jack.
What a shock. What a shocker. Rocky Thompson is gone.
I was kind of surprised he lasted this long into the offseason. Not that there was any rush, but we talked last week, like, hey, Flyers haven't played a game in 2 weeks, and Rocky Thompson's still the power play coach. He's still employed here. Like, what's going on? And I think a couple days after, they decided to let him go along with Angelo Ricci, the skills coach, which I thought was a little odd, and Darryl Williams. But the Flyers are going to have a new power play coach next year, so they're going to have to shift blame on somebody else if they don't improve.
I'm just glad we're moving on from the Rocky Thompson scenario. Like, I don't get it. I don't know what the big deal with him was outside of he prepared really well and interviewed very well. But like the interview is a couple week process, if that. Like, you had how many seasons of seeing what he could do with the players he had. And I understand there were some personnel issues, but to be dead this is the only year they weren't dead last. They were like two spots up or 3 spots up or something. But the overall, was he here 3 years? Just dead last. You're up a man. Come on. Like, just no creativity at all. So I don't know what teams fell for. Torts probably had a lot to do with it. Didn't work out. So glad to just see something new there. And, maybe we'll see guys like Drysdale and Michkov and whoever else start to really pile up the points. So, because that's definitely been missing from this squad, and probably another reason why they realize we're bringing in a new coach with a new coaching staff. So we're probably not going to be as bad as we were last year.
Yeah, really, really interesting to see, where things go. Obviously, they have to bring in the coach first, depending on who that
Or
is.
do they?
It'll be interesting. Yeah. Is the guy already in the room? Like, let's not forget, like they have guys like John LeClaire, Patrick Sharp, Danny Heatley, all on payroll already. Do these guys have a relationship with, some of the guys we'll be talking about in a little bit here? So something to think about. A good little cliffhanger there, Jack. Okay, let's move on just a bit here. We have actually two. Let's not talk about the one yet. Let's move on to the Phantoms sweeping a sweep of the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, Jack. And in convincing fashion, both games put out a video earlier this morning. If you guys haven't watched it already, make sure you check it out after our episode tonight. But some of the younger guys, Jack, the baby Phantoms, some of the young kids that were just added to the roster, paying dividends already, helping out some of the vets. Jet Luchenko, 4 assists to lead all of the AHL. I know it's only 2 games so far into the playoffs, but he leads all of the AHL in points with 4 all assists, as I mentioned. But Jack, the Phantoms could make some noise this year. What do you think?
I watched both of these games start to finish, and the first game was an absolute treat to watch. I mean, yes, the final score was 5-2. It was 5-0 until about 4.5 minutes left in the third. But that game was away as well. And to see Bump offensively just gifted, like just fantastic. Luchenko, I believe all 4 of those, if not at least 3, are primary assists, like across the ice. Like nobody sees the guy coming but him, and just goes through 3 defenders, the pass. Like, my God, though, he has to work on his penalties. He took some kind of penalty. The Phantoms killed a 5-on-3, and he took a penalty I've never seen before. He steps out of the box, but not fully, plays the puck, had to go right back in the box. It was like, come on. And then the next game takes another 2 penalties at least. So the other impressive stat with him is penalty minutes. Luckily, the Phantoms, they're looking like a pretty well-coached team where they're at right now, at least defensively. Hunter McDonald is like throwing his body around out there, starting fights, starting crap with everybody. Love to see that. Grabenkin, he's always trying the high skill stuff. I think he's got at least a point or 2. Andre had 2 assists in the first game. I don't know if he got it on the score sheet in the second. Lexell's got at least 2 points. I think they're both assists. He might have a goal. I forget actually. But like the second game was a lot closer, obviously, but it was a great game. Interesting comments from Bump after the first game, and then he was kind of quiet in the second. He scores those 2 goals, attacked the defense, saying how they were playing soft, didn't want to play the hard minutes and the hard one, And then, of course, I love hearing that because Bump's obviously full of himself and a pretty confident guy and hates the fact that he went in the 5th round, felt he should have went a lot higher. One thing I do like is he didn't want to sign with the Flyers and play that like tryout game. He chose to play with the Phantoms for a playoff run because he felt that would make his odds of making the team out of camp next year that much stronger. Love hearing that. Loved his comments. However, you knew it was going to have a negative impact in the fact that the baby Penguins came at the first period was all hitting left and right. And, he really woke them up, and the game was a lot closer. They still pulled out the win, which I'd like to see. The freaking goalie looked good. Hagens or whatnot. He looked fantastic. His glove was great. I'm not saying he's the heir apparent or anything. I just was really impressed with what I saw from him. Yeah, there you go. He was really flashing the leather, man. Like he was awesome. And they looked great. And they got a hell of a task in front of them with the good old Hershey Bears.
Yeah, defending champs. It's going to be fun. Like, you want to see the guys that are putting up points. These are the guys you want to see putting up points. You mentioned Andre, a couple assists. We talked about Luchenko, Bump, 2 goals in his first AHL playoff game. And, this is something that he does. I wonder if it's a psychological thing that he tries, because if you remember back in the NCAA tournament, he was saying the same things about the Boston University team at intermission, how the defense is soft. They don't like to defend this and that. And now he's saying the same thing at the AHL level. So I'm curious to see how some of these guys on Hershey are going to respond to that. Can Bump deal with maybe some of the attention that's going to come his way? Can he deal with the physicality? Does he welcome it? We'll see how he kind of how things transpire from here on out. But 2 goals in his first AHL playoff game, and so there's the comment here from Flyers Purgatory that Bump has Tippett level shot, but it's on net. And a few weeks ago, I'd mentioned that I don't want to say Bump is going to replace Tippett, because Tippett has wheels, like as we've seen. Like he can turn the jets on and he's gone. I'm not sure. I don't think Bump has that speed, but he definitely has the shot. He puts it on target. He's a puck hound. He looks for the open areas in the offensive zone to receive passes, which is a big thing. You need to get open to receive a pass, and then he's got a quick shot. And that's what he does. He's a shoot first player. He's a scorer. Seems like the Flyers have a ton of these guys. It's crazy, Jack, because you remember the days of Drew and Voracek. We were like, man, if they just had some guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. And now they have a bunch of these guys, and we're looking for the kind of distributor in the middle there,
Go figure. They had Raffle back then, and now we got everybody under the sun, allegedly. But it's the reason why I started watching it. Before I would have been like, meh. But like seeing that these guys all joined the team, people were worried about Luchenko because his junior season got a little screwed up, although I didn't think he finished all that bad. And then he came to the Phantoms, and they had like 3 or 4 games. He really didn't do anything. And now he's tied or leading. I think per game basis, he has the most points in the young playoffs so far. And they're all pretty much primary assists. Maybe one's not. But like that's exactly what you want to see. Bump with 2 beauties on in game 1. Hopefully more to come. And this is a big test, though. They're still getting used to being in the AHL, step up in competition. Now this is Hershey. This is like the bar when it comes to the AHL. So first game, Wednesday, 7 o'clock. If there's a way you can break your TV to make it happen, this is a 5-game series this time, not a 3-game play-in. I'm hoping it at least goes – I just don't know. I just assume that Hershey's going to be damn good, but this is a little bit of a different Phantoms team too. So let's make it count. Let's surprise them.
Yep. Mentioned game 1 Wednesday, April 30th. That's this coming Wednesday, and game 2 Friday, which is May 2nd. May already. Also at Hershey, and the Phantoms are home for their first game at home Sunday, May 4th. So hopefully, they win at least one of those 3 games, and they have a home game next Friday, May 9th. So fun stuff there. I believe there is a way to watch these games. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put something in here later on in the episode. But it used to be like AHL TV. I'm not sure if that's a thing anymore. It's like FLO or FLA hockey, something like that. So
it's
yeah,
like a subscription crap. So I don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully there's some kind of a discount just to watch the playoffs or something there. But yeah, Lyndon also would have go ahead. I'm sorry.
Illegally download stuff because it's the AHL. There's stuff out there. I'm telling you, do a little search, you'll find something.
Yeah. If Bump can translate his college game to the NHL, oh boy, I think he will.
Indeed.
I think he will.
We'll see. He's awfully confident, and it's hard to turn that to look away because he's been successful in this short span, but college national championship on a team that's never won it, was one of their highlight players, looking pretty solid in the AHL so far. But this training camp is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Okay, speaking of training camp, we talked about Carter Hart last week. Jack, you told your story. I mentioned how some things I heard behind the scenes in regards to Hart. All of that build up, and they end up having a mistrial. And I think it had something to do with the jury that was picked. I didn't see the exact reason why. I was on vacation last week, so I kind of didn't read up on things as much as I usually would have. Did you happen to see why it was a mistrial, Jack, by any chance?
No, it was people were alluding to it, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. They basically thought that the prosecution potentially said things that they really shouldn't have. And if you're in the middle of a trial, you kind of do that whole disregard. Well, you was just heard, even though they typically can't. But like, it was early enough in the trial. They were like, we're just going to get a new jury. We're just going to start over. So that's what I was led to believe, but that is not 100% by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah. So that's interesting, like that happened so quickly. But it's, things are kicking off there. It was funny because we talked about it, and then like the very next day, things started moving with that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Things are ramping up. And we'll keep a close eye and keep you guys updated, I'm sure. All right. So we're a little bit over half an hour in here. Did we miss anything that you wanted to touch on before we get to the coaching stuff, Jack?
I do not think so. Just do a quick, like you said, house cleaning. Lou Lamoriello fired. That was interesting. I think he's done. He's like 80-something years old. Quinn Hughes wants to play with his brothers. That's something to monitor in Vancouver there, because, and maybe in general, this could be an issue if these guys start demanding that that will set Vancouver back quite some time, because they're not acquiring Jack and Luke Hughes. There's no way. But no, I think that. Go ahead.
No, I wonder though. Like, I don't think New Jersey is in any rush to trade Jack Hughes. I think they would be the team maybe trying to acquire Quinn.
Right.
Having said that, Vancouver has a player like Elias Pettersson, who hasn't been the same player with Vancouver since signing that long-term contract. He is a centerman. Jack Hughes, I think, has been playing more. Somebody can correct me if this is false, but has been playing more wing in Jersey. Is having a hard time finishing seasons. I think he's averaging like 60-something games for his NHL career. Maybe Jersey finds a way to swap Jack and Luke, or swap Jack and Luke for Elias Pettersson and other things. Like, it doesn't seem that crazy to me that the Hughes brothers could be going to Vancouver to play with Quinn. Like, it almost makes more sense, in my opinion.
Maybe on paper, but it's New Jersey. They have superstars. That's a tough sell to your fan base. I mean, that's you're the team that's got two Hugheses already. You only got to acquire one, and it's like, even Vancouver's ownership was kind of like, well, we'll talk to him about it. And they didn't seem too keen on it. And I get what you're saying about Jack, but like, he's how old? Like, I'm just
not sure, like, how, like, if Luke Hughes was not named Luke Hughes, would you be thinking like, okay, this is a guy that they might not be able to move? You know what I mean? Like, he's got the name, but he's arguably like at best a second pair D. He's probably a bottom pair guy. You know what I mean?
It's defense, and what was he, the 4th overall pick in his draft?
Was he 4th?
It was high. It was maybe 7th. Like, it was like top 10.
Be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me see.
And it's defensemen. They always take longer. They're gonna wait. I think they're gonna wait. They're gonna wait it out. Like, they're gonna.
Yeah, you're
see
right. He was
have.
4th. Yeah.
So,
and he did have 44-point season and 47 last year. So I'm sorry.
Maybe, but I know you're talking about more of the actual defense. But like, all signs point to Quinn trying to make his way subtly, like the beginning of it, to go to New Jersey. So it's just it. I didn't even mean to get into it that much. It's just like, it makes me worry about selecting brothers now. Like, you have everything going great. Well, I want to play with my brother. And the way that the players are today, like, they get their wish, or I'm not going to talk to my team unless I get traded. So, and I'm not saying that Quinn Hughes is doing that, at least not yet. But it's tough for me when and this is why I got so upset with the Cutter stuff too. When a team drafts a player that high, and they're that important to their franchise, and something like that happens, one, you're never getting the appropriate value back. And it could set your franchise back years. Like, and you can't have that. It cannot be a wild west of guys who, in Cutter's case, haven't proven themselves in the NHL at the time of the trade. And it's like you can't have these guys. It become like the NBA at that point. Well, why don't we all get together? We'll go to play in South Beach. There's no state tax there. You know what I mean? Like we don't look at the NBA now. It's a joke. It's a joke right now. If this stuff, and maybe I'm being over dramatic, but like it's like the early seeds of this. Between the young USA college kids making where they want to play, the brothers like, oh, I kind of want to play with my brother, like that kind of stuff. Like it could lead down the path of something, at least the hockey's version of something of like that. And I understand hockey is a much bigger team sport, bigger rosters, but still, like I don't want to see that stuff. It's like, you imagine being a team that needs help and you finally, like say Michkov had two brothers playing in another team and Michkov comes here and he's awesome. And we're like, this is it. We're finally turning the ship around. We had 10 years of being terrible and we're finally going to be good. He goes, I really appreciate my time with the Flyers, but I really want to go play with my brothers. And now we're like in a situation where we're forced to trade them to wherever. Like we'd be set back another 10 years or 5, whatever. And it's like, that is horrible. That is horrible. I mean, as a Vancouver fan, I'd be fucking terrified right now. Pardon my French. I'd be like, really? The one thing that went right, like this year, we have potentially outside of like Makar, the best defenseman in the league, and now we have to figure out a way to get him to play with his brothers because he's going to be pissy here. And there's no way we're acquiring both of his brothers. Like that's a problem. That's a problem to me. I don't like it at all.
I think Canada has a problem. I think the Canadian teams have a legitimate problem. We're seeing, we saw it with Matt Tkachuk and Johnny Gaudreau, two American superstars, right? Did not want to sign in Calgary. Obviously, they ended up trading Matt Tkachuk, and they lost Johnny Gaudreau for nothing. And I think we might be seeing it now with Quinn Hughes. But having said that, this wouldn't even be a conversation if that was the owner, if he would have just shut his mouth.
True.
This would not even be a thing. Like, talk about like creating your own problems. If this was a thing behind the scenes and you're Quinn Hughes, doesn't that kind of piss you off a little bit? Like
because people like me are going to get upset with him because of that, which is maybe why maybe it's frustration on the owner's part or something. But
sure.
Yeah, I agree. Like he's probably like, seriously? Like I told you that. I told my agent to tell you that, not for you to broadcast it. If I wanted to broadcast it, I'd said it myself.
Right. So we're seeing that now owners can, sort of say what they want, but a player can't.
True. But at the same time, the owner has a responsibility to the fans. If they just suddenly trade him, and first off, whatever the return is, they're going to get killed. You saw what happened with Dallas in the NBA with Luka. How'd that go over? Like a fart in church. And that's putting it nicely. They have a responsibility. Look, these was the hands we were dealt. Sure, you can tell them after the fact if you want. But it just tells me that they're very much preparing for that possibility, which is kind of scary. So you're right. Ultimately, you're right. But I could understand it a little bit from the team's perspective. You had everything go down with JT Miller. You don't know what's going on with your head coach. What's going on with Pedersen? Quinn Hughes might want to leave and go play with his brothers. What, my God, is this snowballing and snowballing fast?
Yeah, it's there's something not right up there. And I wonder if it'll pop up again in our conversation about head coaches. But yeah, I have, and this could be another off-season topic, but I have a sneaky suspicion it has to do with Canada and the way that they tax up there. And I just, it's cold. It's Canadian players are also not, they're coming south too. I mean, there's more Canadians than Americans, but we've seen more prominent American players get out of Dodge, and like I said, we saw it in Calgary, saw it in Vancouver. So we'll see what happens, or we might be seeing it in Vancouver. We'll see. Okay, so we're about almost 45 minutes into the episode. Let's get to our main topic because this is going to take up a huge chunk here. And obviously, the title of the episode is it pertains to what are the Flyers going to do with the coaching position. And another name became available today. It's a name that Jack's brought up in the past towards the end of the regular season. Mike Sullivan was let go in Pittsburgh. And right away, there are teams linked to him. And do you think the Flyers should be one of them, Jack?
Absolutely. I feel like it's as much as I like a young coach to grow with his team in some way, he's got the caliber. He's like part of the Torts coaching tree, but not nearly as crazy. And he's got the winning caliber behind him. He's won 2 Stanley Cups. He was with Pittsburgh for 10 years. Outside of the last, 4, they've been very successful, including 2 cups. Why wouldn't I want somebody like that? Now, is he the end-all, be-all answer? Who the hell knows? But whatever he did in Pittsburgh obviously worked. So I wouldn't mind that kind of style of coach, more of an X's and O guy around our young squad.
Yeah. I'm not going to sit here and say no. I don't want Mike Sullivan. What is he? At least a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. You said there, back to back. Yep. Played with some of the best players in the NHL ever, and Sidney Crosby, and I hate to say it, Evgeny Malkin, guys like Chris Letang. So he's been around superstars. He's been around some of the best pros that of our generation. He's won cups. He's played winning hockey. Yada yada. If they were to go after him and sign him, whatever it is, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'd be angry. What would I be angry about? I don't know what I'm getting. I know that he's whooped the Flyers' ass for the last however many years. So I don't know much about the guy, his personality, and how he gets along with players. Only what we've seen. The same
Sidney
kind of way.
Crosby loves him. Absolutely loves him.
There you go. And from by all accounts, what you hear about Crosby is he's a good guy on and off the ice, kind of thing. So I guess that's good.
I'm seeing a lot. I'm seeing some hate on him, and I don't get it. I understand that the track record hasn't been as good. The team's getting old, and they're getting old fast. Malkin and Letang, especially. Hextall was their GM for a few years. I was going to say, right? Let's not forget. Are you serious? Are you really expecting? What is a coach supposed to do with that goofball running your front office? So, I kind of think things went south there, and I'm not putting it on the coach.
Yeah, he's kind of a franchise killer there, and they're trying to dig out the mess that Hextall created again. So, anyways, they moved on from Sullivan. So here's my.
I will say real quick on Sullivan. It does sound like Boston and New York may have a leg up on us. So if you don't want him, probably not going to come here. We'll see.
Yeah, that's where I was going with that.
Sorry.
New York's kind of like the team there that would go after a Sullivan, who they massively underachieved. Stays in the Metro. He doesn't have to move far from home. And I don't know what Boston's going to do.
I don't either. It's going to say what direction they're going to go. It's they really, in my opinion, who do they have outside of Pasternak and Charlie McAvoy? I mean, am I missing something? It's tough. You try to rebuild.
Still have the goaltending up there, but is
Swayman that good though? I mean, Olmark looks pretty damn good, but that's an Ottawa now. So, and Lyndon just brought up what I was just about to look up. Denver Barkey took one hell of a scary looking hit the other night into the boards. I believe the way they kind of described it was his ankle folded in on itself or something of that nature. If he's done just for the playoffs and it's nothing too serious, I'll live. The way he reacted was kind of scary. And I just want to make sure it's not something that could affect him long term. So I will attempt to try to find an update on that.
I tried earlier. There's nothing.
Nothing?
Super quiet. Yeah.
Oh, it's the last thing I want to hear.
Yeah. It's like
play. His reaction's scary.
Yeah. It's like stuff with it's lower body injury is what they're calling it. Yeah. But it's clearly you could see something down with his leg, hopefully just an ankle sprain or something. But how about the hit on Barkey? And if he's getting hit like that,
I was going to say it didn't look that.
Now
I don't even know how. It was. I was trying to see how his foot folded. It was a bad angle. The one I was looking at. I was like, how did he get hurt? I don't even see it. But yeah, I get your point. He's a smaller guy, so I don't know.
He's done growing. He's not going to get any taller. He's going to have to fill out. But this is what I mean, though. He's taking those kind of hits in the playoffs now. Imagine when he gets to the AHL, NHL. So
we'll see. Danny Briere figured it out. Maybe he'll figure it out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Oakham brings up David.
Zero confidence from Jim right there.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. All right, Oakham Razor. Should have went hard at David Carl, and who's to say that they haven't? But Chicago was the team that was in on Carl, maybe the most of any other NHL team, and from the sounds of it, there's not going to be a marriage there. There's not going to be a connection between Chicago and David Carl. Does that mean Carl does not want an NHL job, or is he trying to pick his ideal spot? Not sure.
I'm leaning towards, he wants to go back to college. From what I understand, I don't know any details, but Chicago went pretty hard after him, and it sounded like he was really interested at first, and then just nah. And to pull out like that, because Chicago's not exactly ready to win by any stretch, so he's going to be there for a while. Yeah. But he pulled out, and it's kind of like, all right, he's, in my opinion, he's going back to college. That was too good of a deal. If I don't know what they offer, but how aggressive they say they were going after him, I would assume it was either Chicago or college, and it sounds like he chose college. Could be wrong, but that is I'm 90% sure he's going back to college.
Are they? Let me see where they're from real quick. Do you know where the Carls are from? I want to say it was Colorado, but let me make sure here.
I think they added. I think they just had another kid too. So
they're from Alaska.
Oh, Mystery Alaska. There you go.
At least Matt Carl is. I don't know if David Carl will even come up on this. Yeah, they're from Anchorage, Alaska. Interesting. Anchorage.
That's near Mystery, yeah.
So I wonder if the climate will have anything to do with that. I'm not sure, but Colorado is pretty damn cold. So I'm just trying to think for teams like Boston and New York. Does he want to pick, where he wants to coach at? Does he want to go through a rebuild kind of thing? I mean, Chicago's got all kinds of talent coming up. They have one of the best young players in the NHL.
Allegedly.
What would be the issue there?
I don't know. He must have turned down a boatload of money, and he must be turning down. There must be something he doesn't like, or maybe his family got to him. Was like, yeah, not yet, or why now? You have a young family. I think they just had another kid within a calendar year, something like that. Yeah, and you're right. Maybe he does want to pick I think first and foremost is going to be longevity wherever he goes. He doesn't want to uproot his family, and just be out of there in a couple of years. I think he really wants to stay long term. And you know what? Maybe he looked. The money's great, but maybe he looked at Chicago and was like, they have a lot of good pieces. These pieces aren't proven yet. If the development doesn't go my way, and then the first thing they're going to do is fire me. Well, even if it is 4 or 5 years, it still might not be in his wheelhouse. So maybe they were so aggressive. The money was so life-changing that he seriously considered it, and ultimately was like, I just can't do it. And that's why I feel like he's going back to college. But I could be wrong. That doesn't mean he doesn't eventually coach in the NHL. I'm just saying for this time around, I feel like he's going back to Denver.
Looks like that so far, which would bring us to our next candidate here. And I have a nice little graphic that I can pull up. Just give me 1 second here. It has to do with Pat Ferschweiler, who would be high up on, I think, both of our lists. And this is a tweet from Jackie Spiegel. I think most of the tweet is on the screen. How can I get that comment off here? So Jackie put out a poll. You guys can go check the results of the poll on Twitter. With David Carl expected to be out of the running, Rick Tocchet available to this point, and getting the sense Pat Ferschweiler is not leaving Western Michigan University. So that's interesting. So that's another candidate potentially out. So David Carl's out. Pat Ferschweiler potentially out. Did we talk about anybody besides those two, Jack? Oh, Mike Sullivan may not make sense, but let's not rule him completely out.
I feel like he'll probably wind up elsewhere. Is the way
Okay. I think that's fair. Okay. All right. So those three out. Who is next on our list here? It's shrinking quickly.
Yeah. Well, there's other names out there that I don't think they should consider, like a Dan Bylsma, but did we talk about Hunter yet?
We did not.
He's another one before we get to some of the others. That's Dale Hunter. Mark Hunter is the owner. Dale Hunter is the coach of the London Knights, friends with Keith Jones. and has an insight to barking and bunk, which is nice. And they're always successful out there. I don't even know if they've talked to him about it or anything like that. Just London's always good, has the inside job on a few of our prospects, and he's friends with Keith Jones. So obviously, if he were to make the jump, that seems like it would be the team he would make it to. And then finally, and I'll get your thoughts first, actually.
This is on Hunter.
Huh?
I don't know enough about him as a coach, which is why I haven't brought him up in the past to talk about. I guess I could do some research and maybe do a short video or bring him up during a future episode. I know that the London Knights are having a lot of success. The team is absolutely stacked. It's loaded. So to have, I guess, that they're succeeding and dominating the way they are is a plus for the coach. Like, to have all that talent and not be good would be a problem. So I guess he could be a candidate. I guess he could be looked at. I think there's connection there somewhere. I think maybe with Keith Jones.
Hey, if he's interested, give him an interview. What the hell? What can he lose? And I'll come back around to that later. But yeah, before we move on to the final two, the only other one he was brought up in the chat, we've talked about, or we had him on our list before, is Todd Nelson. I guess we'll get a good look at him now, head coach of the Hershey Bears. The only thing else, I don't really know a whole lot about him except for that Hershey is always good. Just understand about Hershey, they're always good. They always have top tier AHL talent there because they're like a franchise in their own right. If the best way to put it is, if the AHL were to fold, Hershey would go somewhere. There would be a team. Like, they're self-sufficient, and that they just always have a good team. I don't know if that is a good or bad thing, or just null and void for how good the coach is, a reflection of that. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I'm trying to think. All these AHL coaches come up and they kind of let you down. I think Jeff Blashill in Detroit didn't work out. Sheldon Keefe with Toronto, now he's in New Jersey. I really don't know. I think I'd rather just go another direction, to be honest. I just, like you were saying with Dale Hunter, I don't know a whole lot about him other than he coaches the Hershey Bears, and the Hershey Bears are usually good, but there's other reasons for that as well. So if I'm going to hire a coach with all the different names I have, he's definitely not at the top of my list. I'll say that much.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So I'll do a quick screen share here. This is Todd Nelson's coaching career. So he goes back to all the way 2001 season as a player assistant. You could see he's won multiple championships here, 3 in the AHL, 1 with the Grand Rapids back in 2016, and then 2 with the Hershey Bears back-to-back seasons. So he also has a taste of NHL coaching, assistant with Dallas for 4 years. Was up in Edmonton for a season. It looks like he even was a head coach for 39 or so. I'm sorry, 48 games, 45 games, something like that. Bad math with 46 right there with Edmonton. So he had a 17-22-7 record with Edmonton. I assume that's when they are still going through all the tanking and shit like that for the guys to have now. So yeah, I mean, he's got experience. And he goes back all the way to when the Atlanta Thrashers were in the NHL.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. It's good to see that he won a championship with a team not named the Hershey Bears, but just going by the records when he took over, it looks like they're pretty good. But it's not the worst thing in the world. He's got the NHL caliber, at least as an assistant, which is fine. How many times assistants get hired to be head coaches? I'm all for it. But again, it doesn't move the needle too much for me based on who else is available at this time.
Yeah. All right. Maybe a guy that we look into, we keep a close eye on some of the things he does in this upcoming series with the Phantoms, does he convince us? Would the Capitals organization let him go to the Flyers, or would they figure something out there? We'll see.
We shall see. I think the Capitals are fine with everything they got going on there.
Yeah.
That's another name we'll probably talk about in the future. Their assistant coach is starting to get some traction. So somebody mentioned him earlier in the chat, but we'll get to that.
For sure. Okay. So let's move on because we're coming down. Again, you want to get on Bruce Boudreau real quick?
I think the game may have passed Ham a little bit by. Yeah, he's a wild card. I could be wrong, but how old is he at this point? That's some rotten ham. I don't know. I bet like 10 years ago that was a name that interested me, but I don't know about it anymore.
Yeah. All right. So Brad Shaw's come up a couple times in the chat here. Explicit brings him up. Shaw is at the top of Danny Briere's list, and Linden49 chimes in right after. Shaw makes the team as an assistant.
He did not close the door on that, Shaw. That is definitely a potential possibility.
Yeah, and so I get, we're on our last, I think, couple candidates here, Jack, and well, let's just say it. Would you rather, if it came down to these two, would you rather Brad Shaw and I don't, how can I preface this? I don't want Brad Shaw here for more than like 2 years if he does become the guy. Would you rather Brad Shaw for 2 years or they go all in on Rick Tocchet?
Oh, Brad Shaw. I just feel like Rick Tocchet, who isn't as bad as Torts, but is something of a retread. I know he demands more respect and whatnot, but he's 60 years old. And not to say that Brad Shaw's like young or anything, but like you said, like for 2-3 years, bring this along, see what he has. If I would rather just stick with Brad Shaw than go out and get Tocchet. If you're going to go down that older route and not go with the new age college coach or an assistant of some kind from another team. He's already here. The players respect him. He's done wonders for your defense. You might as well just give him a shot at that point. I don't think you're gaining too much more from Tocchet. When I look at Tockett's like track record, he was probably pretty decent with Arizona considering what he had to work with. Been meh in Vancouver and currently in a whirlwind of a situation. I know he's beloved around the league. I know he demands respect, but that's about where the buck stops with me. And not to mention, I still have not let it go that he went from being the intermission, pregame, postgame guy, Tocchet, to an assistant with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And when the draft was in Philly, that douchebag came up to make the pick for Pittsburgh in Philly, and it has said in the past that there's the great city in Pennsylvania is Pittsburgh. So afangul to Rick Tocchet, and I'd rather just roll with Brad Shaw.
Yeah, interesting. So I'm looking at Brad Shaw's hockey DB here. Don't you find it odd that he's been a coach in the NHL since 2005 and has been an assistant coach his entire professional NHL career? Like nowhere along those lines did any team say, you know what, we want to make you the head coach of our hockey team, Brad Shaw. What do you think?
I guess he just doesn't interview very well.
You know what? I'm going to say this because you mentioned that. Have you listened to him? Have you listened to him in his press conferences?
Here and there.
Like the guy, look, I'm not saying anything negative, but the guy can talk. And he just talks and talks and talks. And it's like, at some point, you're going to get yourself in trouble here, man. Like he talks about he brings up his wife a lot during these interviews, which is fine, but it's like, it sounds to me like he's not he's not, and I'm just going to say it, it doesn't mean anything. It's just how it comes off to me. It just sounds like he's not prepared or he doesn't know how to do this, where he gives like too much information kind of thing. And I'm just like, huh. Because he mentioned it happens with his players too. Like, if the players come in and talk to him, he'll end up, they'll have to cut him off or he'll have to cut the player off. Like they end up talking for too long. Like, is he an over communicator? Is he somebody that guys would lose respect for quickly? Is that why he's a better, a better good cop than a bad cop kind of thing? Like he's one of those guys he's one of those guys that you need, but he's not the guy, is kind of the impression that I got when and I'm over analyzing, but like, it's what we kind of do. And I'm like, I don't know if this guy is the guy. Like, I think your coach kind of does need to be a little bit alpha. And I'm not sure Brad Shaw is the alpha. I'm not sure he's the guy. It's just the vibe that I get. There's nothing wrong with him, because I think he does a great job at what he does. Having said that, though, Jack, like I would take a year or two of him as a bridge to when the guy the Flyers want to hire is available. Like if they're not sold on Rick Tocchet, then don't do it. If you're not 100% in on Rick Tocchet, then don't do it. Buy some time with Brad Shaw. Let things kind of wherever path that's going to go, whether it goes to shit or things improve, let that go that way. You tried it out. You did him, you gave him the reins for a couple years and then go get your guy. Like, I think we're all expecting things to kick off in another season or two anyway. Off seasons, I mean. Like, we're all looking at the 2026 off season. Let Brad Shaw get you there. Fire him at some point during the 2026, 2027 season, and then go from there. I think is how I have things playing out in my head. I would rather do that than hire Tocchet for 4 years, whatever it is.
I was going to say, sounds like you think that if they just hire Shaw and when he ultimately fails, then we'll get the guy.
Yeah, that's kind of how I, not to be a negative Nancy, because he does seem like a good guy and everything, but I don't see things going as great as everyone thinks it could go. Like you remember, I think it was Scott Gordon. I think was Dave Haxtell the coach before Scott Gordon was the interim guy?
Yes.
Like we were all just so like ready for Haxtell to be gone that when Scott Gordon came up, just because it was a fresh face, we were all like, oh, wait a second. We might have something here. And Scott Gordon wasn't a good coach. You know what I mean?
He was an NHL head coach before with the Islanders, so he had that on his resume where Shaw really does not.
Right. So, part of me thinks that it's just the new face effect, like Torts is gone and so many people were tired of Torts. And it's like, well, you got Brad Shaw sitting right there. Look how good he's done with the defense.
I do want to keep him in some capacity for what he did with the defense, which is one of the reasons why I thought Sullivan made so much sense, because I could really see him staying on the coaching staff. Hey, maybe they get Tocchet and Shaw stays as an assistant. I don't know. But like you said, though, like from when I look at it from the Tocchet perspective, I'm like, again, it feels like more the same with Torts. And like, Jesus Christ, like how many times did I have to go to toe with people over Torts? We're going to do it all again with Tocchet? Like, it's just, usually there's a switch between, hard-nosed coach and player-friendly coach. And I just feel like they'd be going down the same path. And is it Tocchet a guy that you really learn from, which are things that Briere said they're looking for in the next coach? Communication is key. Well, if he's talking to everybody for odds on end, he's obviously communicating. So, I mean, it's really, what are they going to do? And it sounds to me like Shaw is checking a lot of boxes. And not to mention, I'll top it off with this. Elliot Friedman said on 32 Thoughts, which I believe was released today, I wonder if the Flyers don't get Tocchet, does Shaw rocket to the top of the list? End quote. He's not just saying that for no reason. So to me, it's a 2-dog race, and it's those two.
Yeah. I don't know if that I see any Flyers fans like, oh yeah, like 2 great candidates. You know what I mean? It's kind of like shit.
Yeah.
Anaheim's going out and there's talks that they're interviewing Quenneville, and we didn't really touch on that, but well, I'll keep my comments to myself. I think people deserve second chances, whatever. But they're not going after that kind of big name like that. But there is something going on with Tocchet. You have Flyers Purgatory, Tocchet to Pitt. That's another option now, I guess, right, Jack?
I could see it. Yeah. I mean, it depends on what Tocchet wants, but we know he loves Pittsburgh more than anything.
Well, I wonder if that's what's going on there. I wonder if Pittsburgh could be the other team. Remember the owner said something like his head could be somewhere else or something like that. And because the Flyers job's been open, Pittsburgh job, like maybe it's been out there that they were going to part ways with Sullivan, and maybe Tocchet was just waiting for that to happen.
Well, two things on Tocchet. All right, we kind of know the first one, but I don't know if a lot of people know the second one. So the first one is obviously Canucks have said they're not going to pick up Tocchet's option, but they do want him to return as a coach. They want to negotiate a new deal. And it's essentially up to Tocchet. However, technically under the contract, Tocchet does not become a free agent as a head coach until July 1. That's after the draft. Mm-hmm. And that's usually when a lot of the other coaches are already scooped up. So are the Flyers, one, willing to wait until July 1? I'm sure they'll have a handshake deal, but still. And two, are they going to not interview anybody else in that time? Like, they haven't even started the process. Like, why not at least interview Shaw and interview Reschweiler and whoever the hell else you want to interview if you have to wait all this time anyway? Is that even smart to wait until after the draft? It's a lot of weird questions when it comes to Tocchet. I don't know if we should be – do they really want him that badly that they're willing to wait until July 1?
Yeah, I don't know. That seems sort of like something the old regime would have done, right? Like, that's a little messy. Like, let's be organized here. Let's get the guy that we want in, well ahead of the draft, and let's start planning things out. How do we want to play? Which players do we want? That kind of thing. That would seem a little bit. I mean, like you said, they would probably have plans set in motion ahead of time. But I think the optics of it, at least for me, I wouldn't like. Go into the draft with your coach. And like I've said many times before, like in years past, like Tocchet would have been my guy. I wanted Tocchet, but then they went and got Torts.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and no one's ever going to be like, if Torts is like a 10 on the intensity scale, they're never going to find anybody close to a 10 again. So maybe when Tocchet comes in, he'll seem like a puppy dog to these guys. I don't know. So we'll see.
Maybe there's more to it than we realize. But either way, it's very strange. It's very odd. I was hoping they have it all squared away going into the draft, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, another good point here from Lyndon. Tocchet knows Flyers are up and coming, while Pittsburgh is on the way down. So interesting comment there from Lyndon. All right. I mean, we're about 10, 11 minutes overtime here. Jack, what else did we miss? Did we miss? We did miss a candidate. And
don't say it.
It's funny because we're talking about the Phantoms and how well they're playing, but we're not giving any credit to the coach.
None.
Should we be?
No.
He's made playoffs in 3 of his 4 seasons as head coach of the Phantoms. You could see the record there. Not great every year, over 500 in 3 out of the 4 seasons.
Almost but you could also playoffs in the AHL.
You could also argue the talent down in the AHL hasn't been great either. And now he's got an influx of some veteran talent down there. Brière's kind of stocked the cupboard a bit. The defense core is pretty solid down there. They found this Gahagan guy's playing well, but then you include guys like Bump. You include guys like Luchenko, the first round pick from last year, and the team's buzzing a little bit. All of a sudden, they have guys that can put the puck in the net. They're a little deeper down the middle with Luchenko there and Jacob Gauthier playing well. Anthony Richard, a veteran presence, playing very well. Do we give any credit at all to Ian LaPerriere?
I suppose a little bit because you have to. Jim is going to start working for Daily Faceoff at this rate. One thing I'll say, you look at that coaching record, right? Now, we looked at that coaching record for Shaw, and we obviously weren't fans of the Blues and the Star or whoever else he played for in Columbus. Yeah. We look at this with all that experience he has in the NHL there, and how do we remember that? Not so fondly, huh? Like, just absolute dog shit of a penalty kill, and they hung on to him because that's what they do. And I love the guy. He's a great guy, but it's a results-based business. And we need results because it's been close to 10 years of bullshit. So risking it on a Lapierre would be bonkers. Even if they won the Calder Cup, I'm still like, yeah, not enough. Let them cook down there a little bit longer. Like I'm no. Like,
well, that was going to be one of my questions, T. And like, what if they win the Calder Cup this year?
Just hire the Hershey Bears coach then, because he's got 3 of them. You know what I mean? Like, come on. We're going to just forget how bad his NHL experiences were in the past. We're going to blame that on a personnel issue as well, because they were historically bad numbers. He wasn't just, the team was bad, historically bad. Like, come on. Like, and then from my understanding, like he's good. His strengths are like being in an environment and an atmosphere that you want to be in, which is good. It's not like something I don't want. But like, as far as X's and O's goes, he doesn't have it. Like, and I don't want that. Now's the time for the X's and O coach. Like, I don't want the atmosphere coach. I want the X's and O coach. I want the guy who's going to make these players better by putting them in positions to be better and to win, which he has proven at the NHL level he does the opposite of. So I could not be more out on Lapierre. I let him win a Calder Cup this year and next, and then maybe we'll talk.
I don't know that I'm as out on you as you are for the Perrier. Look, I'm not going to say that he's my guy. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say he's my guy. But like, let him interview. Let's see. And look, I'm not going to pretend like I remember like who was playing on, because he was in charge of the penalty kill, right? I'm not going to pretend like I remember what guys were in charge, were out there on the penalty kill. So he could have been a bad PK coach. But he was one of my favorite players when he played in the NHL. I think I have a picture. See that? I don't know if you can see this up here. This top picture. One of those guys up there is a signed Ian LePerriere photo. You can't see it, but I'm a Lappy fan, especially of the player. The coach, look, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I watch every Phantoms game, but there has been an influx of talent, and you need talent to win. So we'll see. I'm not out on him, especially if he has a good run in the Calder playoffs. Like that would, if I'm Briere, that would be a huge plus for him. Like I would even dangle that carrot for him. Like Lappy, like go out and have a great playoffs, upset some of these teams and let's see, and then we'll talk, maybe that puts you ahead of a guy like Bradshaw, and look, the leash would be short, because you could always send him back to the Phantoms if he wants. Yeah, and there's look, we could see there's conflicting comments. You want to read some of the comments there, Jack? There's some good ones.
I think Scott likes it. Scott Taylor likes it. I put that one up there for you, but everybody else is pretty much with here.
You want me to read that one? I didn't see Scott. Stand up, Jim. Don't let Jack bully you. The young kids are thriving. I was a Lappy hater, but I'm impressed with what he's doing with the kids. He knows his job.
5 games. 5 games of thriving. Come on.
All right. Let's see here. We had something else. Teddy. Dude, stop. There's a reason why Lappy's still in the AHL. And if he was so good, he would have gotten an NHL job already.
Here you go. I hope everybody does that. I bet you it'd be like 2 to however many people are in the chat. Don't fall for it, Jim. Don't fall for it. Okay.
Well, so here and look, I'm not saying that Hackstall was a good coach either. I don't want to have this conversation. I'm just going to preface that. He didn't have talent either. You know what I mean? Like, in my opinion, if you truly want to see the mettle of a coach, like you can't give like LePerriere no talent. You can't give him a bunch of AHL vets and then judge him off of that. You can't give somebody shit and be pissed that he didn't turn it into gold. You know what I mean? Like if you do that, like you're a really good coach and you're probably not going to be in the AHL for that long. I'm not saying that Lappy's
man. He was in the NHL for a long time and he was pretty shit. I think this organization keeps him around because they like him.
All right, but there's a reason why though, no? Like he's been through a couple GMs.
He's a good guy. He's very good for the locker room, the atmosphere, probably good for younger guys. I agree. But there's a difference between that and the NHL for sure.
I mean, he played in the NHL, coached in the NHL. I just think that there could be, and I hate it because, like, you want a sexier name.
I mean, I want a sexier name, but I also don't want closing time name either. I mean, my goodness.
I just think that he's maybe not so much out of the question as we originally thought. We almost forgot to even talk about him tonight.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'll give you that. I would agree with that. But could you imagine Briere finally gets his shot to hire his coach and he hires LePerriere? Are you kidding me? Like, oh my God, people! Oh Jesus Christ! Half of Twitter would just lose to go to Blue Sky and just lose their mind. Like, just no chance. Like, for that alone, no way in hell.
Yeah. All right. I mean, as the days go on here, we'll narrow our own search down.
That's
We
what they're
X'd a
waiting
lot of
for.
people. We crossed a lot of guys off tonight. That's for sure. So somebody asked about draft talk. Well, once I think May starts, we'll kind of ramp up our draft talk a little bit more. If you haven't already, I'm already putting out some videos. I think I put out Misa is the most recent one. Help me out here. Who else did I get out? I'm drawing a blank. Misa, I put out Hagens, and I put out Frendell. Yeah. So make sure you guys, if you want draft talk, make sure you check out those short videos. Let me know what you think in the comments. Jack, any last thoughts before we wrap up this show?
For every Lappy, there's a nice Todd Nelson. Just do it. And explicit draft talk is coming, baby. It's coming. Probably once the playoffs start to, at least the Phantoms playoffs start to wrap up. It's coming. We got our guy doing all sorts of research right now. It's somebody. It's me, Jim, and another guy. So you will see.
And another guy.
We'll see. But I can't help it. Every time I see information, I got to read about it. We have 3 first-round picks, 4 seconds. This is the year to do the research.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, like I mentioned, I'm putting out a few videos. As I'm going to try to put these out on specific days. So I'm going to do a Caleb Denoye video. That'll come out Wednesday. So make sure you guys keep an eye out there. And then maybe this weekend, like maybe Saturday, we'll do somebody else. We'll try to get as much as the first round done. There's a Ryapkin. Maybe we'll do Ryapkin. It could be another guy we talk about. So,
Scott, I saw your comment earlier when you're going to be a guest on the show. When the Phantoms win the Cup, the Calder Cup, that's when you'll be on the show, buddy. Heard it here first.
Well, imagine the Phantoms win the Calder Cup, and you have to have Scott on, and the Flyers.
I will. I will. I'll eat it. I will, and maybe they'll be great. Tell me all about LaPerriere and how great of a job he did, and I'll just sit here with a bowl of crow, and I'll just eat it.
What actually is crow? Like an actual bird, like an actual crow? Like you need to eat the bird?
Lord, it's probably from medieval times, for God's sake. I couldn't tell you.
All right. Yeah, I just
all these sayings have very interesting beginnings. So,
well, I say that sometimes too, and I'm like, you know what? What actually does this mean? And I've never looked it up. So, Scott said, "Bring a bib." Wow, so he's primed. He's ready for you, Jack.
And I want the Phantoms to win too. So this is going to be great. This is going to be wonderful. There you go. We started how we ended with Keith here, my buddy.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to wrap this episode of HW Hockey up. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure you subscribe and help us on our quest for 1,000 subscribers. I think we're 30 away last time we checked. Like and leave a comment for us on YouTube. Make sure you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Set alerts so you're first to know when we drop a new show. And for all of our latest episodes, articles, and updates, head over to hwhockey.net. For Jack, I'm Jim. Don't forget to keep it high, keep it wide, and we'll see you next time on HW Hockey. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.